Hello citizens, in today's video I would like to show you how to refuel other ships using the Starfarer, how to be refueled in flight from a Starfarer, and my thoughts on refueling so far. As always, if you like this video, sacrifice a like to the YouTube algorithm and subscribe for more. And here's a shout out to our amazing patrons for their support of the channel and the armory. If you would like to be on this list, follow the link in the description. So let's start with the preparations and crew requirements. Technically, you could be able to do this on your own, but I would recommend having at least one other person on board so that one of you can stay in the pilot seat while the other mans the turret or controls the refueling. But depending on where you're going, it might be a good idea to have enough crew to man all the turrets and maybe have some fighters nearby to help out if needed. Preparations for refueling are very simple. All you need to do is buy fuel into the fuel pods. You can do this through the ship services menu in your Mobby glass by selecting the manual option. Here you select what fuel and how much would you like to buy. Make sure to note how much you paid per SCU of fuel. It will be important later. Another note, the filling process is going to take a few minutes, so be patient. You can check on the progress using the fuel management console. Before we get into the refueling, let's take a tour of the fuel management console. First of all, you need to set the selling price for your fuel. The auto price option seems to use the price from the last station you visited, so you might want to enter your own price based on how expensive the fuel was to buy and then lock the price so you don't accidentally change it. It also seems that the price doesn't persist between game sessions, but this might be fixed in a later patch. Moving on to the pod management screen. Here you can see what fuel and how much of it you have. You can also transfer fuel between tanks using the buttons. You can manage the refueling process both from the main screen and the pod management screen, but I feel like the pod management screen might be the better option. You can also control fuel pod transfers from the external catwalk, but unfortunately there is no refueling console in the back. Alright, so let's get to the refueling. First, you have to extend the refueling arm from the fuel management console. The player needing refuel now has to target your ship and request docking. As far as I can tell, you need to be in the pilot seat to accept the docking request. Once the ship is docked and the player requests fuel, you can fill the fuel order from the fuel management console. You can see the status of the transaction down here. You will see the amount of requested fuel at the bottom here. Now you have to select the fuel pod to be used, open the fuel nozzle and then control the flow rate of the fuel. You need to keep the flow rate within the safety limit, otherwise the nozzle will get damaged. As you can see here, I am currently refueling but also pumping fuel from one tank to another, and this is keeping my flow rate pretty low. You could use this as a safeguard early on while you're learning the refueling process. Notice how the flow rate goes up immediately as soon as I stop the transfer between tanks. Make sure to refuel both hydrogen and quantum fuel. There might only be a small quantity requested, but it will keep the transaction from completing. Once all the requested fuel was provided, the transaction will complete and the ship will automatically undock. Make sure to close the fuel nozzle because it will keep leaking fuel. If something happens, you can also abort the refueling process. This will undock the ship, retract the refueling arm and then transfer a portion of the refueling cost to you and return the rest to the other player. And that's it from the Starfarer. Now let's take a look from the perspective of the ship being refueled. First, you have to target the Starfarer and then press N to request docking. Once your request is approved by the pilot, the docking HUD will appear. Now you can either dock manually or hold N for automatic docking. Manual docking can be faster, but automatic docking seems to work reliably every time. Once docking is completed, you can open your Mobby glass and request the fuel the same way you would request it from a station. You can either select to fill your tank completely or manually select how much fuel you want. Once you submit your order, the full price will be deducted from your account. At this point, all you have to do is wait until your order is filled. At any point, you can abort the process by holding N to launch. You will only pay the amount of fuel you received and the rest will be refunded. Once your order is complete, your ship will automatically undock and you can be on your way. And that's it for the refueling process. Now, let me share some thoughts I have on refueling so far. As I mentioned before, you absolutely can do this on your own, but it would be pretty difficult and possibly dangerous, because you would have no way of protecting yourself or seeing incoming threats while you manage the refueling. Also, you would have to constantly switch seats between the management console and the pilot seat. Which brings me to my second thought. I am not exactly sure how this gameplay loop will integrate into the current state of the game. It is fairly unlikely that someone will need fuel because the distances we need to travel are pretty short right now. Also, I don't think we will see many Starfarers offering refueling services outside of org events or other types of organized gameplay, at least at the start. I guess I just don't see a lot of players assembling the needed crew and protection just to sell fuel to randoms right now. But I think once more systems are available and players have to travel longer distances, we will see fuel rat type groups emerging and providing services to anyone who needs them. But for now, I think some NPC refueling missions could provide gameplay options for players seeking to play the support role, or having the ability to sell fuel to stations and landing zones, which could allow you to essentially become a fuel runner. In terms of profit, you can actually make quite a bit of money depending on the prices you charge for fuel. And especially if you're giving fuel to someone far away from a station who needs it, you can charge quite a lot. Another thing I also expect to see is a medium-sized refueling ship using the same docking system the Starfarer does. It could be a new concept, but I'm very intrigued by the idea of it being a Cutlass or a Constellation variant, which I think could be pretty fun. And with that being said, that's it for tonight. What do you think? Is it too early for refueling? Will you be seeking or providing refueling services in the near future? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, fly safe, and I will see you in the verse.